Sexual purity. Unmarried men and women are to avoid engaging in activities that create intense sexual arousal prior to marriage. Here now is Gene Getz.
Now we know from the whole of the book it's dealing with a marital relationship. But there are indicators that lead up to that marital relationship. And chapter 2, verse 7, I've called this premarital experiences. And it's a woman speaking, young women of Jerusalem. I charge you by the gazelles and the wild does of the field. Again, using symbolism. Do not stir up or awaken love until the appropriate time. And it's interesting that that statement is restated in chapter 3, verse 5, also again in chapter 8, verse 4. And what is it referring to? I think basically, if you want to paraphrase, what it is saying, keep yourself pure before marriage. In essence, it's saying, don't put yourself in a position or a circumstance where erotic feelings are aroused, which God designed to lead to sexual intercourse or to culmination. Now, you make a statement like that in our culture today, and they'll laugh you out of the pulpit. Because it's dealing with premarital purity. In fact, as you know, there's a new normal, which is not God's normal, and that is premarital experience, premarital sex, living together before marriage. When you teach this, especially from the world, the secular point of view, even the people that we admire and respect, who have a pretty high value system in view of marriage, basically they will say, if you talk about premarital purity, they will simply say, hello, where are you living? The world has changed. Those norms are no longer relevant. They're old-fashioned. The expectations are impossible. And of course, it is actually taught. That is a relationship. Just be careful you don't get pregnant. Here's the way to keep from getting pregnant. If you're going to do this, and we know you're going to do this, here's what you should do. But never put a value on it. Unless the value is don't get her pregnant. Don't do something that's going to create a problem like that. So I'm not saying something that we don't all know. I mean, this is the world in which we live. And I believe that long ago, this passage here spoke to the issue of premarital purity, not putting ourselves in a position that God has designed to lead to culmination, because that's going to create, obviously, frustration, anxiety, and temptation, and leading to a violation, many times, even of our own consciences. And it's amazing how many young people in today's world, even who claim to be born-again Christians, have redefined intimacy to justified intimate activity. Again, in Ephesians we read, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother, be joined to his wife. Not his significant other, not his friend, his buddy, but to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. I believe that's God's plan. It's design. Hasn't changed. Still true. And if we violate that, it's going to create other problems in relationships. Doesn't mean God doesn't forgive. God cleanses. The blood of Christ cleanses from all sin, obviously. But that doesn't justify ignoring that principle. So the reflection response question is, why is it so important for young women to help set standards for dating relationships as modeled in the Song of Songs? I think most of us can answer that question because just of our lives, knowing what we know about each other. But it's significant that the statements here in the Song of Solomon are made by young women, made to young women by women. And I think that's very, very significant, because if a woman does not draw the lines in our culture today, it only perpetuates what is a violation of the will of God. And just think about our society today and look at the ads and what goes on. The opposite is taught young women, and that is to seduce. To seduce. To seduce. Just the opposite. So it shouldn't surprise us as to where that kind of behavior is going to end up. So here's a very important principle then that I think comes right out of the Song of Solomon, out of this Old Testament setting. Unmarried men and women are to avoid engaging in activities that create intense sexual arousal prior to marriage.